Bienvenidos a Soy Violento, Soy Macabro Podcast. Yo soy Ali.
Y yo soy Dee.
Y hoy Dee nos contará de un caso que sucedió en Chicago, Illinois. Advertencia: la información de este caso puede ser desencadenante para algunos. Tengan en cuenta que algunos de estos casos pueden involucrar menores de edad, abuso, violación o violencia. Escuchen con precaución.
Warning: the information on this case can be triggering to some. Please be advised that some of these cases may involve children, abuse, rape, and violence. Listen with caution.
Which should have been a joyful time turned into an unimaginable tragedy for 19-year-old Marlen Ochoa-Lopez. After seeking help with baby items on a Facebook page, she fell into the hands of strangers who posed as generous helpers, but harbored sinister intentions. This is the heartbreaking story of Marlen Ochoa-Lopez and her baby Yovanny Jadiel Lopez.
Pues era la esperanza que yo tenía, sabemos de que era algo, pues por último que Marlen nos había dejado, ¿verdad? Que era su bebé.
Pero ahora sabemos, pues está en la gracia de Dios y bebé Yovanny ahora está con su mamá.
Entonces, gracias a todos por las oraciones, más que nada, para que nos mantengamos pues fuertes en estos momentos tan difíciles.
Me quedo en shock, nomás de imaginarme ese momento que ella pasó. Pienso en qué fue lo primero que ella pensó en su mente el día que le arrebataron la vida.
Marlen Ochoa-Lopez was born on November 16, 1999 in Guerrero, to Arnolfo Ochoa and Raquel Uriostegui. When she was around 2 years old, her father immigrated to the U.S. to establish himself in Chicago, Illinois. Shortly after, he raised enough money to bring Raquel to the U.S. During this time, it was very difficult to bring both of them at the same time. So he decided to only bring Raquel in order for them to gather enough money, establish themselves economically, and then bring Marlen to the U.S. There's still not a lot of things that are known about them, but they do know that she had other children. They both had other children, but they stayed in Mexico because they were older. They didn't want to leave, so they just decided to bring Marlen to the U.S. According to her mother, they were all really close. So when she lived in the U.S., she constantly was telling Arnolfo, I miss my daughter. I want my daughter here. She was very persistent at the fact that she wanted her daughter here because she missed her. And she was 2 years old. So she was still, a toddler. So she begged and begged. And after 6 months, they decided to bring Marlen to the U.S. According to her mother, the relationship just kind of fizzled out for a few years after bringing Marlen to the U.S. So Raquel and Marlen moved to Des Moines, Iowa, and Arnaldo stayed in Chicago. Even though they both live in different states and different cities, they still kept in contact. They would drive back and forth or visit each other during holidays or vacation. And, it was working out for them. So, they enjoyed their time with each family member. But when Marlen began to grow older, she wanted to establish a stronger relationship with her dad. So she ended up moving to Chicago and staying in Chicago and then coming back to Des Moines. When she was 15 years old, she actually met Yovanny Lopez. And they hit it off right in the beginning. And they, started talking, and he was just mesmerized by her and how beautiful she was and how intelligent she was. And for months, he said that he begged her to be with him. And she finally gave in, and they just automatically clicked. And within a year after meeting each other, they actually got married. So it was all pretty quick with them. Even though Marlen was like 15 and then 16 at the time, she was very excited to just become an adult. So after a year of being married, they brought their first child into the world. His name was Joshua, and they were so excited about it. And then after having Joshua, she decided to start going back to school. And in late 2018, they discovered that she was again pregnant. So they were really happy about the news. Yovanny describes Marlen as being a beautiful, hardworking, studious, and intelligent woman. He also said that she was the most wonderful mother, that she would do everything and anything for her child, and even for the unborn baby. He said that whenever they were together, he would say like, "Oh, the baby's kicking," or "The baby, has me waking up at the middle of the night because he keeps like just interrupting me." And she said that none of that mattered as long as her baby was happy. Another family remembers Marlen as being an angel and being so joyful. And overall, the family were just in love with her. They also recalled that during the time that she got pregnant, she was going back to school to finish her high school diploma and eventually get into college and hopefully graduate and become a fashion designer because she loved fashion. So those were her goals. She was going to be a great mother, work, go to school, finish her degree, and just provide a more amazing future for her children and for her husband. On the morning of April 23, 2019, Yovanny kissed his pregnant wife and 3-year-old son goodbye and headed to work. At around 12 p.m., Yovanny told Univision Primer Impacto that he had called Marlen and asked how her condition was. During this time, she was 9 months pregnant, and she was on her last few weeks of her pregnancy. He recalls that Marlen told him that she was tired, that she just wanted to sleep, that she was just so far along, but she was trying to pull through because it was her last few weeks of pregnancy, and she just wanted to take it easy. According to what he said is that she was going to go pick up something, and then she was going to pick up their son, and then she was going to head home. According to documents, Marlen was last seen exiting the Latino Youth High School in Little Village. However, by 2 p.m., the daycare center where Joshua was at called Yovanny and told him if they could pick up Yovanny because Marlen didn't end up picking him up. After returning home with his son, Yovanny waited to see if Marlen would show up. He assumed that she probably got sidetracked doing something and just forgot to pick up Joshua from daycare. However, hours passed and he began to worry. He said that he would call her and she wouldn't answer. So he started calling her family and asking if she was with them. After they all basically said that she wasn't with them, or she wasn't answering their phone calls, they began to worry. The next day, they went to the police office and tried to report her missing. However, immediately after trying to report her missing, the police officer told the family that they couldn't do anything until 72 hours later.
So her being 9 months pregnant didn't make a difference.
Exactly. Marlen's father told outlets that he felt like they were not taking her case seriously. Even though Marlen was 9 months pregnant, she was 2 weeks before her due date, and he just basically said, they didn't take us seriously because of our immigration status. Because they didn't move forward with anything. They didn't put a plan in action. They didn't do anything to go ahead and look for Marlen. While the police waited out, Marlen's family and friends decided to join as a community and began to print out flyers with Marlene's information and the details on her car and where she was last seen. They began to also call different hospitals in case she had gone into labor and she was at a hospital that, they couldn't get a hold of the family. The flyers asked the community to help find Marlen, and if they had information regarding the disappearance, to contact the Chicago Police Department. And if the police department didn't want to take their information, they could get in contact with the Des Moines Spanish Seventh-day Advent Church. At the Des Moines Advent Church, they actually set up a headquarters where they were gathering tips and information regarding to Marlene's disappearance. So they put like a whole operation in their group, behind their church, where there was constantly people on the clock gathering information on Marlen. They constantly followed up on every lead. However, Marlen was nowhere to be found. She had completely vanished without a trace. A few weeks went by with no concrete evidence on what happened to Marlen. They kept going back and forth with small details of her sightings or that there was a possibility of her being found. However, there was nothing. There was nothing that actually led up to her. During the time of her disappearance, there was another pregnant woman that actually went missing. They probably assumed that there was somebody around Chicago that was kidnapping pregnant women. However, that lead went nowhere. There was also a child that was found in Chicago in a dumpster, and they assumed that was Marlene's baby. But also, they ran a DNA test, and it wasn't the baby. Detectives began to start piecing the case together on May 7th, 2 weeks after Marlen went missing. There was a tip from one of Marlene's friends who had mentioned that Marlen had joined a Facebook support group for mothers. After getting through the screenshots, detectives learned that Marlen had gone to a woman's house to pick up a few baby items before she disappeared. According to the people that they had contact in regards to Marlen, they said that there was a specific woman that was in constant contact with Marlen, and her name was Clarissa Figueroa. According to neighbors, Clarissa Figueroa lived with her parents, as well as her daughter, Desiree Figueroa, her boyfriend, Peter Bobak, and Desiree's boyfriend. They all lived in the basement of Clarissa's parents' home. And according to detectives, they found it strange because this wasn't the first time that Marlen and Clarissa had met up. According to the prosecutors, Clarissa Figueroa had a 20-year-old son named Xander, who died on December 2018. In October, she announced that she was pregnant, which was a surprise considering she had her tubes tied. She had posted this inside a Facebook page, and people were commenting like, "That's impossible. How did that happen?" She said that she had gone into surgery to get something surgically done, and they untied her tubes, which caused her to become pregnant. People were saying, you should sue the doctors. That's malpractice and stuff. And she said, "I'm thinking about it." And so that was like her literal response. It was pretty weird. In December, Clarissa posted an ultrasound on Facebook, purposely showing that she was carrying a baby. Even on the ultrasound, it had her name, the picture of the baby, and she had like a caption saying, "I'm having a baby." Wow. All of this felt very odd to people that she was pregnant. But people just kept like saying like, congratulations or whatever. And they just kind of waited it out to see if she was pregnant.
Yeah, you're not going to question a pregnant woman.
Exactly.
So.
Yeah.
Cool.
On February of that same year, Clarissa had posted on Facebook that she was going to name her baby Xander after her dead son. She also posted updates on the baby's crib and their nursery with a banner on top of the baby's crib with the name Xander on it. According to court documents, on March 5th, she joined a Facebook group called Help a Mother Out. Clarissa posted an image with the caption, quote, "Who is due in May? Where are the May mamas at?" This led to Marlen reaching out to Clarissa and explaining that she was 7 months pregnant at the time, and they had a conversation about baby clothes. Clarissa offered Marlen baby clothes for the baby and suggested that they talked in private messages. By April 1st, Clarissa had told her daughter, Desiree, that she needed help killing a pregnant woman and taking a baby. During the first few days in April, Marlen came over to Clarissa's home to collect baby clothes and a swing and other items. According to an interview with Yovanny, he told Primer Impacto that, quote, "I remember her coming home on April 1st with a baby swing, and she told me, 'Look what a friend gave me.' I never thought it was that person." According to court documents, on April 1st, when Marlen was at the home, Desiree's boyfriend recalls them acting strange. He goes on to say, quote, "They were all together, and Clarissa and Desiree, quote, kept acting strange, and on numerous occasions went into a separate room together." He told Desiree that he would call the police if they attempted to kill Marlen. When Marlen left the house, Clarissa and Desiree told the boyfriend that it was actually an April Fool's joke. However, Clarissa continued to stay in contact with Marlen. A few weeks later, on April 22nd, Marlen had asked the Facebook group, quote, "Mommy's in here by any chance? Is anyone selling, trading, or simply donating a double stroller your baby doesn't use anymore? I just really need one for my son, my soon-to-be born, and my 2-year-old. Preferably a neutral color. I'd really appreciate it. It'll be such a great help. I'm also selling a single stroller, neutral for $50, brand new, in the box, willing to trade for double stroller. Near the south side, around Gage Park. I can pick it up." During this time, Clarissa reached out to Marlen and told her that she had one from when her daughter was pregnant. She said that her daughter had 2 baby showers and she had plenty of items to spare. She said that she could clearly just donate it to her and just spread the love.
Oh, sorry. Marlen had posted that.
Yes, Marlen had posted
okay.
that.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Sorry, I got confused. I thought you said Clarissa had posted. So Marlen posted and Clarissa said her daughter, Desiree,
had 2 baby showers and she was willing to donate those items that she needed. According to court documents, Marlen felt more comfortable with meeting up with Clarissa again and entered her home and waited in the living room. Clarissa then gave Marlen a photo album of her recently deceased son, Xander, and told her about him. Then, according to testimonies, she played some music loud enough to muffle noises. And then around this time, it's still unclear on what happened, but some documents say that Desiree came behind Marlen and strangled her with a cord until she stopped moving. However, other court documents say that Clarissa actually stopped her from strangling her because, quote, she wasn't doing it right. Then Desiree took a butcher knife from the kitchen and sliced Marlen open with a cross on her womb. They removed the baby out of Marlen and discarded her body in trash bags and placed her body in a garbage can behind the home. Peter Bobak, Clarissa's boyfriend, allegedly helped conceal the murder, leaving Marlen's body in the garage for weeks. He also helped clean the home and remove the blood from the murder scene. Desiree took Marlen's phone and her car and parked it a few houses away from the home that they were living in. According to 911 records, at around 5 p.m., they received a phone call from Clarissa claiming that she had given birth and the baby wasn't breathing. She also described that the baby was turning blue. According to the 911 dispatcher, they instructed her on how to give CPR to the child and that they would send over an ambulance. According to neighbors, Clarissa came out of her home screaming for help, that she just had given birth and the baby wasn't breathing. Neighbors claimed that Clarissa had blood on her hands while holding the baby, but there was no trace of blood on her shorts or on her legs. They also recall saying that they had no idea she was even pregnant. A neighbor told the Chicago Sun-Times, quote, she said, quote, I stood up and the baby came out. The neighbor said that the paramedics never even went inside the home. Before she left inside the ambulance, Clarissa told several people, quote, please call up someone to come and lock the home. Once in the hospital, the staff took the baby and placed it in the ICU and declared that he had no brain activity and placed him on life support. Clarissa was examined by doctors and tests showed that she had no sign of having given birth.
How did she think she was gonna get away with this?
Yeah, I know. However, at no point did the staff conduct a DNA test to declare if she was the mother of the newly born baby. Shortly after being placed in the ICU, Clarissa created a GoFundMe page claiming that she was 36 weeks pregnant when she gave birth to baby Xander. The GoFundMe said that Clarissa and her boyfriend were preparing to say goodbye to their baby boy and had been accepting Xander wouldn't survive much longer. Quote, baby Xander, despite all he is going through, he is a little fighter, and he's already captured the hearts of many family members. Honoring the short life that baby Xander had in one small way to help provide closure and start mourning the process for the family. Within the GoFundMe page, they showed pictures of the baby and them surrounding the incubator. Peter also posted on his GoFundMe page and explaining that he was ready to say goodbye to his son.
Wow.
However, on May 7th, an anonymous person reached out to detectives to tell them to check the DNA of the baby after Clarissa set up the GoFundMe page. She was raising $9,000 for the baby's medical bills as well as the funeral expenses. She claimed that her baby was sick and wouldn't survive much longer. During the same exact time, detectives received screenshots from one of Marlen's friends from a Facebook group called Help a Mother Out, showing that Clarissa and Marlen had talked a few days prior to her disappearance. Once they accumulated the evidence, detectives went to Clarissa's home and knocked on the door. Desiree actually answered the door and told detectives that her mother was in the hospital, that she had gone to go check some pain that she had on her legs, and claiming that she had just recently given birth. Detectives arrived to the hospital and decided to take DNA samples from Clarissa and Peter and ran it against the baby's DNA. This determined that Clarissa and Peter weren't the baby's parents. Shortly after receiving the news, they asked Yovanny for a sample of his DNA, and they ran it along with the baby in the ICU, declaring a match, that he was the father. Shortly after finding out that his baby was in the ICU, he changed the baby's name from Xander to Yovanny Jadiel Lopez in honor of Marlen, because that is the name they had chose for their son. Detectives were now on the search for Marlen. They began their investigation back at Clarissa's home. Once they arrived, they found that Peter was washing down a rug in the backyard of the home. Once he saw the police, he dropped the hose and walked away from the rug. Police began to search the fire pit that was in the middle of the courtyard to look for any evidence. They also went around the home to see if they would find any trace of blood or evidence related to Marlen. A detective ended up looking through the trash cans and found the decomposed remains in trash bags inside one of the trash cans. They determined that the remains were of Marlen. Shortly after finding the remains, they ended up detaining 4 people at the Figueroa home. They ended up booking Clarissa Figueroa, Peter Boback, and Desiree Figueroa, as well as Desiree's boyfriend. During the investigation, they learned about Clarissa's son's death, her infatuation of becoming a mother, and what she was doing in order to get a baby. They dismissed Desiree's boyfriend once they found out that he had nothing to do with the murder. However, when booking Desiree, they found out that she was actually 4 months pregnant. Neighbors also recall seeing that someone that resembled Marlen around the day of her disappearance was in the neighborhood, as well as seeing her car. Another neighbor told ABC 7 News that Clarissa used to babysit her infant until she began acting strange. Quote, "She told me how she was getting really attached to my baby, how she couldn't wait to be a mom again. She said that she needed money because she was having a new baby. She told me that she was due in May." Clarissa Figueroa pleaded guilty for the murder of Marlen and was sentenced to 50 years in prison. Desiree Figueroa pleaded guilty to murder and was sentenced to 30 years. And Peter Boback accepted a plea deal on concealing a homicide and was sentenced to 4 years in prison.
4 years?
4 years.
I thought 50 was a little.
I know. According to the family spokesperson, they were very upset at the fact that Peter Boback had only received 4 years. But technically, based on the evidence and everything, they said that he didn't know about the murder, even though he was the one cleaning after all their mess. But he ended up getting 4 years because he helped them connect the dots when it came to the case. When it comes to Advent Christ Hospital, the Ochoa family reported that they had reported the hospital to the Department of Public Health of Illinois because of their lack of protocol when it came to managing the case. The family spokesperson told the news outlets that the Department of Public Health should do something about the fact that the baby was never, tested for DNA, even though Clarissa had no evidence of being pregnant.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what throws me off. It's not.
Yeah. So even though they knew that she hadn't given birth, even though, there was no kind of evidence that she had given birth, they didn't run any DNA tests.
Yeah. That's so weird.
And I mean, let me remind you, when she quote unquote gave birth is the same day that Marlen went missing. So they waited 2 weeks to run a DNA test, and that was only because police asked for a DNA test. But if they would have, done the DNA test on the day that she had came into the hospital, they would have solved this case way sooner, and the family wouldn't have gone through so much agony without any answers.
Y lo bueno que the friend told the police. That's why and shared all that information.
Exactly. However, the lawyers tell Univision that the hospital didn't check the DNA sample of the baby when he was brought into the hospital, even though Clarissa didn't show any signs of being pregnant. However, the family was fighting for legal rights to the DNA to be given to people when they come in with a home birth, to avoid having this happen to any future parents. As of now, Marlene's parents, Yovanny, and her 7-year-old son, Joshua Lopez, are honoring Marlene and baby Yovanny by collecting and donating baby products to those in need in their community. They try to do these type of community actions every 6 months since the murder of Marlene, to help parents in need from having to do these riskful task of reaching out to people online that they don't know, and having this situation happen again. Even though it's been 5 years and it took this long to get a final trial when it comes to Clarissa, Desiree, and Peter, they finally received the sentence that they deserve. Although it wasn't the proper justice that the family wanted, they still are in jail and serving their sentence. Our hearts go out to Marlene's parents, to Yovanny, to Joshua, and to all of those people that were part of solving Marlene's case, as well as those who have been severely affected by her murder. This is a tragic case of Marlen Ochoa-Lopez and baby Yovanny Jadiel Lopez.
Es una herida que ni siquiera llega a cicatrizar. Pueden pasar el tiempo, los días, ya 12 meses y no.
Pues no ha tenido paz. Y ha tratado de acercarme a la iglesia, estar bien con Dios, pero no lo mismo. He visto días que él me dice que si le puedo llamar a Marlen, pero pues yo en esos momentos me pongo como pues triste, mal, porque pues él empieza como pues a llorar, como con ese sentimiento, porque pues sabe que yo le digo que pues ya no voy a poder hablarle a su mamá, ¿verdad? Que su mamá ya no va a venir, que su mamá pues ya no va a regresar. Ahora pues a mí me causa una gran tristeza, porque pues ver a mi hijo así, ¿verdad? Que sufre ahora por su madre, ahora en día, y sigue sufriendo. Y realmente pues yo tengo fotos de ella en mi cuarto, y pues yo le digo que su mamá fue una buena persona, muy bonita.
And that was the case for this week. I know it's a very tragic case.
Yeah.
And I tried my best to get as much information into this episode as I could, but
I remember seeing it in the news.
Yeah.
I appreciate you bringing this, talking about this case, because when it came out in the news, I didn't really look into it. I didn't get a lot of the information, so I remember, like, en las news cuando estaban enseñando el basurero de atrás.
Yeah,
I was just like, oh man.
I know. I mean, the only thing I really recall was her. Like, I only remember seeing Marlene's face and Yovanny's face, but I really didn't get involved into what it was about. I just knew it had something to do with a baby, but that's about it. But after going into the case and deep diving it and like just being consumed by it, I was just floored at everything that was going on and how it happened. Especially because it had to do with, her join a support group on Facebook for help. And I had seen a lot of people mention the fact that she went by herself to meet up with these people. And, for me, it's almost like kind of a little bit of a victim blaming situation where I'm just like, it wasn't her fault, She went in there with, assuming that these people were, generous and very kind.
Good.
She didn't know
Yeah.
the malice that Clarissa had in mind, So for me, it's like, yeah, we shouldn't, meet people online without being in public or without like having somebody else, with us. But
Right.
it's still very heartbreaking that she went into this with, the best of intentions.
Yeah, aprovechó de su inocencia.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
I'm glad these people are in jail.
Yeah, I am also too. And if you ever have a chance to go in and like look at the court documents about them, it's like you just wish you could like go into the screen and just like punch them in the face, because even throughout this whole process, they almost seem like they had no fucking sense of remorse. So, yeah, my heart goes out to the family and to Yovanny especially, that he has to raise, her, like their son, and try to teach him about, his mother and like
keeping her alive.
Yeah. So yeah, let us know what you think about this case. We will have the links to all of the links to the case in the description below if you want to check it out. If you want to listen to the rest of our 134 episodes, am I right? I think it's 134.
I will have to check.
I'm pretty sure it's 134 episodes now.
It is. It's 134. I was gonna say 140, but it's because I was listening to el podcast de the one from New Girl.
Yes. I know who you're talking about. Winston. Yes. Right?
No, el otro, el de, oh my God, why am I?
Nick?
Yes, but the podcast, yeah, he has a podcast, and I was listening to it, and they were like at 140. I was just listening to this earlier, so in my head, I'm like, wait, we're 142. Yeah, but no, sorry. Yes.
Yeah, no, it's fine. So it's 134 episodes. Yes. We're not at 140 yet. We're 134.
Yeah, this is 135th.
This is our 135th episode. Mm-hmm. So if you want to listen to the rest of the 134 episodes, you can look for us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, or wherever you stream podcasts. Just type in Sobre the Macabro Podcast and you can find our whole catalog there. If you want to talk about this episode or any details that you might have about this episode, follow us and leave a comment on our Instagram, our Twitter, or X as it's known now, our Threads, our Blue Sky, and TikTok for like another couple of days because we don't know what's going on with TikTok. And our YouTube, because we have a YouTube about our latest cases up on our YouTube channel. So you could leave a comment on our shorts or on our YouTube episode. Just type in So Into Macabro Podcast. Also, and I forgot, we do have a Facebook, so you can go on Facebook and leave comments there. I haven't created a MySpace. I'm sorry. But
I started it. I'm kidding.
Yeah, I knew it. But yeah, you can follow us there. Leave comments, DMs, suggestions for new cases, please. We would really appreciate it because we want to know what you guys want to see and we want to know what you guys want to hear about. And if you guys leave suggestions, we will incorporate them into our upcoming episodes. But yeah, anything else?
No, that's up.
It?
Yeah.
Okay, we're caught up with all of that. But we do want to mention one little thing. If you don't follow us on Instagram, you might have not seen our video, but we told you guys on that clip that we weren't going to have an episode last week because of the fires. Even though we aren't directly hit by the fires, as in like personally, it still was very draining. It was still very in our minds, and it still is.
Emotional roller coaster.
It still is. I mean, we get notifications from the Watch Duty app and information from our phones from like alerts and stuff. So we're constantly being bombarded with text messages and information, even on the news, on Instagram, on TikTok. on every platform. So we kind of felt a little bit draining when it came to that. We're also hosting a donation fund. If you want to donate any money, donate any supplies, just let us know, and we'll send you the links to our Zelle and to our Venmo, where you can donate to any of the causes. Again, there is no you don't have to do it, but if you feel inclined to do it, it would be amazing.
We would appreciate it. And
we
thank
do.
you to those that did check in on us, que nos mandaron mensajes to make sure that we were okay. Like Dee said, we're not directly in where it happened. Dee's closer to it. So we just want to say thank you for those that did check in on us. We really, really appreciate it. And I still feel like it's a nightmare. I feel like it's not happening. Just seeing these beautiful cities in LA and the beautiful people of LA and just seeing what's going on. It's just, it's heartbreaking.
It is. And
it's devastating.
It is very devastating. And I think it's going to be a long time before, everything feels normal. But for now, we just want to say that, we're thankful for the first responders. We're thankful for the people that are donating their time and their money, and just donating to different organizations in the community, as well as people within the mental health field who are donating their time pro bono to support those that have been affected by the fires. Again, we will continue to share donation links, donation updates on our stories on Instagram and every other platform. We do have a couple of links in our link tree at the top of our link tree that will direct you to specific GoFundMe pages, as well as volunteering opportunities that you can join, or places that need donations. So if you guys feel inclined to do any of those, the links will be in our link tree. And we will also share them in our social platforms. But for now, I just want to say thank you so much for supporting us, and for, just for your wonderful messages. And
and for all of you who are supporting, everything going, everyone in LA. That's definitely, that's our focus right now, supporting as much as you can. And like what we said, no tienen que, si no pueden dar dinero, if you guys can't volunteer, we understand. But as long as you're sharing resources, we do want to thank all, like Dee said, all the ones that have been donating, the ones that are volunteering, but also those that are sharing the resources and checking in on your friends and family who do live in California and LA, even if they're not directly in Palisades and Altadena. Just make sure you check in on all your friends and family, because we're all going through it, and we're all suffering and going through in our own different way. Very different than what those affected by it directly, but it's a lot. It's a roller coaster. So make sure you check in on your friends and family, please.
Yeah, of course. I mean, we're personally still getting phone calls, and like in our family, we're getting phone calls, we're getting text messages. So I completely understand. And we're here for you guys if you guys want to talk about it, or even want to reach out for any sort of help or any sort of direction. We are here to guide you as well. But with that, just want to say thank you. And anything else before I forget?
We're sending all of you a hug.
Yes, a virtual hug to every single one of you. Everyone. And please hug your pets so tightly, because we've seen a lot of pet stuff coming through. And luckily the Pasadena Humane Society is full of food and shelter for all the animals that were affected by the fire, as well as other shelters around the area. So just hug your pets a little bit closer, and
tell your loved ones and your friends that you love them, and your pets too, please.
Yes, please.
Every single day.
Yes. And with that, I think that's it, right?
Yeah, nos vemos la próxima semana.
Yep, we'll see you guys next week.
Adios.
Bye. Stay spooky.
Stay spooky. Bye.
Bye.